As ages passed, and the 12 Crusaders became the talk of legends, a great rebellion arose and spread throughout the land of Jugdral. While on the march through the Yeed Desert, Quan and Ethlin are suddenly attacked by the Thracian army and killed far from their homeland. Though grieving the loss of his kin, King Calf of Munster fights valiantly, yet he too meets a bitter end, betrayed by his allies, the Connaught army. The entire army of Thracia seizes upon this chance and assaults Castle Munster. As Munster's army fights in the face of a merciless onslaught, one young knight, Finn, escapes with Prince Leif, Calf's infant grandson. As Leif gazes up at the castle, cradled in Finn's arms, can he even begin to understand the terrible sight that meets his eyes? "13 years later, greetings, gamer guys and gals. Welcome to my Let's Play of Fire Emblem 5 Thracia 776, one of my most favorite games of all time and definitely my most favorite Fire Emblem entry. I want to thank you for joining me. I do want to preface this Let's Play with two very important factors, and that is that A, we are going to be playing on the Little Munster patch, the most recent version that will allow some quality of life improvements that will be kind of controversial, as it will not be a purist run. I do, however, believe that these quality of life improvements are the best way to experience Thracia, in my humble opinion. And the second thing I would like to take note of is that we are going to be playing on Paragon mode. Now, Paragon mode doubles the experience points of all your units, and this sounds like it would trivialize the game. However, Thracia is still mightily difficult, even on Paragon mode. What Paragon mode allows me to do is make the Munster escape arc a little bit less RNG reliant, which is better in my opinion for Let's Plays, and for me. And with that being said, we're going to go ahead and put in the code for Paragon mode, which is right, left, right, left, right, left, right, right. And once you hear that little ding, you can go backwards and press on Paragon mode, and we shall surely begin. Barely escaping the burning of Castle Munster with his life, the young Prince Leif was looked after by Finn, his knight and retainer. Together with Nanna, a young noblewoman under Finn's care, the trio fled pursuers sent by the conquerors of North Thracia, the Granvale Empire, which lay to the west. Yet Finn proved stronger than those who hunted them, and the three made their way to the cities of Ulster and Tara, posing as common vagrants. Eventually, they drifted into Fianna, a small village on Thracia's eastern coast. Fianna was an independent community with its own militia, the Fianna Freeblades, led by the swordswoman Avel. Avel welcomed Leif's group as if they were her own kin. Under her watchful eye, the deposed prince spent his childhood in Fianna, growing into maturity alongside youths of common birth. Now, in year 776 of the Granvale calendar. Chapter 1, The Warrior of Fianna. "Have you found that whelp of a prince yet?"
"Regretfully not, my lord. The men searched the village top to bottom, but came up with nothing."
Why is such a simple task taking you so long? There's little doubt that the heir to House Munster is hiding here. You've been too gentle with these villagers. Give them ample motivation to talk.
We are of the same mind, my lord. I've already ordered the men to do as much, yet the townsfolk claim the prince isn't here. According to them, he left with the Freeblades to fend off a pirate raid on a nearby village.
Freeblades? What nonsense is that?
They're the local militia, sire. As I understand it, this village was once home to a group of brigands. Rather savage ones at that. About a decade ago, they were routed by Avale, a wandering sellsword. She claimed the village as her own and founded the Freeblades to protect the region from future attacks. She's supposedly quite a wonder with the sword.
She may be a problem.
You have nothing to fear, my lord. We've taken Avale's daughter captive. What's more, we also captured the daughter of Finn the very night guarding the prince's life. With the leverage we have over them, they'll have no choice but to surrender.
I admit, you have your uses, Wiseman. The women will accompany me back to Munster. You'll remain here and prepare for when these upstart rebels return. See that the young Leonster pup is put in chains befitting a stray mutt.
Your trust in me is well placed, sire. Men, bring the girls here.
What's your name, lass?
Ha!
A pretty fighting spirit to match a pretty face. Now let's have a look at the other one. Ah, you must be Finn's young ward. I hear your mother was royalty of House Nordion, is that right? You certainly don't lack for grace, despite living in this backwater hovel. Holy blood doesn't run thin even in squalor, I see. What a pleasant surprise the two of you make for. Wiseman, I'll be departing for Munster now. Don't disappoint me.
All shall be as you wish it, my lord.
What's that commotion in the village? Something's rotten here.
I'll scout ahead, Commander. Hold here a moment. Commander, Fianna is packed to the brim with Imperial troops. They must have struck while we were away.
What? No way is the Empire gonna make a mess of our home. Commander, let's move in.
Calm down, Ocean. We'll get slaughtered if we just charge in blindly.
Yeah, Helvin, I'm sure the village will appreciate your patient attitude while everyone's being rounded up and jailed.
Peace, Ocean. Helvin is right. Seems we've finally been noticed by the Empire. Looks like this is goodbye, Little Leaf. I'm sorry. Finn, take him as far away from here as you can. Leave the soldiers to us.
No, Commander. Nana is still in the village. I won't leave without her.
I'll get her back, don't worry.
It's more than that, Commander. I won't run anymore. That's my decision to make.
Finn, you want to weigh in here? You going to let the little lord throw himself into harm's way like this?
Lord Leaf has seen the passing of 15 summers by now. He's old enough to choose for himself, and as my liege, I will abide by his judgment.
Has it been that long already? Huh. I suppose I let Little Leaf come with us to fight off those pirates myself. Guess I made up my own mind when I did that. If Finn's alright with it, so am I.
Then what's the holdup? If we're done arguing, there's an invasion happening over that ridge.
Alright, get ready to move in, but stay sharp. Most foot soldiers are just regular folk, forced into the Imperial Army against their will. If they surrender, just take their weapons and let them go. Are we clear?
But we can still bloody them until they surrender, right? I mean, if we can't put up a good fight ourselves, we'll be the ones surrendering.
Knock them around if you have to, sure, but don't overdo it. That means you, Ocean.
Hey, come on, give me some credit, Commander.
Okay, enough chatter. Let's give the Empire a battle worthy of our names as Freeblades.
Alrighty, so now we are here in Thracia, and very first thing we are going to do is check out the options menu and deal with our configuration. So first and foremost, I do want to say that at some time, most likely as soon as the Munster escape arc is completed, I'm going to be turning off animations until the final confrontations of this game, just to speed up gameplay. Besides, I like the map animations just as much as I like the in-game animations, I should say. We're going to be leaving them on for now throughout the whole Kerberos and Munster escape arc. We're going to turn on map data to detail, so we have terrain window and HP bars on, which is pretty cool. We're going to be able to see that wonderful feature. Auto cursor units window, we're going to stay on detail. Message fast, and game speed fast. Now, interestingly enough, the thing that is probably most controversial about the little Munster patch is hidden data and deployment. If you leave them at 0, that is your default. So hidden data at 0 shows you literally nothing. Your inventory shows nothing. You cannot discover any hidden qualities of your units. This doesn't show attack speed. This doesn't show follow-up critical modifier or dodge. Those are 3 very important things in the upper right-hand corner that I think should be known by the player. And at the very least, if you're going to play this game quote-unquote pure, I would definitely say at least having hidden data on inventory is a good idea. What it'll allow you to do is also see your growth rates, as well as your weapon level experience points. However, we're going to be going a little bit further than that. We're going to be going all the way to Hidden Data 3. Hidden Data 3 allows you to see certain things you would not see otherwise, hidden skills, alongside Chapter on 2. So with Chapter data hidden, that allows you to see like talk conversations, who can talk to who, and like where some hidden events could take place. Now with hidden skills, we're going to be able to see something that is very interesting. Actually, I'm going to show this in action. So Avel here only has one skill, Adept, attack speed, % chance to perform a consecutive attack. However, if we turn on hidden data to 3, we can see that she has a second skill here. It's called Miracle Plus. This nullifies enemy stabs and status conditions and avoids all fatal damage. She cannot die throughout the entire Kerberos arc of this game, which is wild. It's the entirety of the early game that you have her. She is a busted unit because of that. It's not necessary to have that knowledge, but I am going to keep it on just for the sake of quality of life improvements, in my opinion. Now, deployment is the most controversial thing in this patch, because default, you can't see the units that you deploy. You can only choose whom you're going to deploy per chapter when deployment becomes a thing. With 1, you can see them, and with 2, you can rearrange them. We are going to be leaving it on 2 this entire playthrough. And next, we're going to be checking out the window pattern. So we have this one, this, and this. Personally, my favorite default window is 4, but we're not even going to be leaving it default, because this game allows you to do something that is wild, that you don't get to do in any other Fire Emblem game, even to date, and we're talking about a game that was made in the late 90s, which is you can fully customize your window. You can change the color of the upper and the lower background, and we're going to be leaving the lower at that dark blue and the upper at the black, because I think this looks fantastic. With all that being said, however, we have a bit more to do before we can even begin this chapter. And what that is we're going to talk about our 5 starting units here. First is Leaf. He is the Lord character of this game, so the main character, and he is an interesting one. Now, at first glance, you can see that he doesn't seem to have all that great of stats, and most of the Lord characters of this series have far and away better stats than him. but you must take this game into context. This game has stat caps at 20 in all the combative related stats, so strength, magic, skill, speed, luck, defense, and constitution. HP maxes at 80, but all of those stats maxing at 20 means that Leaf in half his stats is already a fourth the way to maximum, and that's not even counting promotional gains, which is wild and very interesting to say the least. Now, Leaf comes with his own preferential light brand. It is an 80 hit, 12 might, 0 crit, 1-2 range, 10 weight weapon that gives him plus 10 luck and can be used to heal all HP, which does cost one of the 60 uses. Not that big a deal because, hello, being able to heal all HP and you have 60 uses of that? Yes, please, I appreciate that. Well, there's a couple of things about this. First and foremost is weight. Weight on weapons actually decides your attack speed, and how it does is weight minus constitution, and then whatever is left over is subtracted off of speed for physical weapons. So with that being said, that means that he has 10 weight minus 5 constitution, which is 5, minus that off of speed, and as you can see in the upper right hand corner, he has an attack speed, or AS, of 0. That means he cannot double anyone with the light brand at this current time. A lot of people look at Leaf and think that he's a bad unit because of something like this. You can easily just use the Iron Sword and have 4 attack speed in the early game if that's such a problem to you. In all reality, it doesn't matter because Leaf grows pretty quickly, especially if you give him the stat boosters I plan on giving him. Now, moving on forward, we're going to talk about FCM, Follow-Up Critical Modifier. Leaf has a FCM of 2, which is very interesting. So in this game, the first attack that you perform is capped at 25 critical. See, now, Leaf only has a 2 critical right now, but the first hit is always capped at 25 critical. It doesn't matter what your critical says. Your critical could say 99, a billion, 7 trillion, and it's still going to cap on the first hit at 25. Now, on the second hit, your critical is then multiplied by your follow-up critical modifier, and this is your true crit, not your capped crit. So if, for instance, Leaf doubles right now, if he does, his second attack will have a 4 critical instead of a 2. His first will have only a 2. This is interesting because follow-up critical modifier can range anywhere between 0 to 5 in this game. If you have 0, it means you cannot crit at all, and if you have 5, you're pretty well a critical machine, which is pretty interesting. I like the fact that Leaf doesn't have too high of an FCM, which means that he is still useful, still has one, but it's not something that's overbearing. It's not like he's the best unit in this game, bar none, which is good. There should be a niche that he holds himself in, and he does. Having a 1-2 range magical-based weapon that is preferential to him that can heal himself completely every turn you can use it anytime you want, is pretty wild, especially considering that, yes, it does cast light magic at range. So that 12 might goes and uses his magic stat rather than his strength stat. So it uses his strength stat up close, but his magic stat at range. Interestingly enough, for some reason, in Thracia, it shows the magical attack in the upper right-hand corner rather than the physical attack first, and that's not how it does it in any other game in the series, which is kind of interesting, in my opinion. Now, as you can probably see, there is no resistance stat in this game, and that is because magic doubles as both magic attack and resistance. I love this. This means that if you give Leaf, let's say, a talisman, he is going to, or the equivalent, which would be a magic ring in this game, that will give him a buff to his magic, but that gives him a buff to both his magical attack and his resistance from magical attacks, which I think is fantastic. Now, concerning his growth, because yes, we can see those in this patch just by pressing the select button. He has 70% HP, 35% strength, 10% magic, 35% skill, 40% speed and luck, 25% defense, 15% con, and 3% movement. Yes, you're seeing that right. You can grow constitution and movement in this game. It's not very likely that you're going to see either, especially because movement caps at a growth of 5%,
without anything that buffs it, because there is something that buffs it, we'll see later. What this necessarily means is that Leaf has a 3% chance to gain an extra point of movement in his level ups. This basically means that 1 out of every 30 level ups, Leaf is bound to get 1 extra movement. This is not including promotional gains or anything of that nature. Now, growing Constitution is pretty fantastic, because even though it's not as important as growing Speed in this game, because Speed is just more important of a stat than Constitution, because stat caps are at 20, some heavy-weighted weapons, you kind of need some decent Constitution to be able to wield them in any kind of reasonable manner, especially in late game. So there is that. I do love the fact that you can see growths in this game, and in this patch, I should say. These growths don't look all that amazing, probably to most newer folks to the Fire Emblem series, but remember, in context, stat caps are 20, and that's not even counting promotional gains. He is going to get pluses to all those stats when he promotes, just like every other class in this game does, which means he's even closer to his maximums than you think right now. Now, going towards our left side of this area, we see personal data, and first and foremost we see affiliation, Leaf's army. Leaf is the head of his army. The point of affiliation in this game is actually having to do with authority stars, which is the space underneath it. You can have up to 5 authority stars on a single unit at a time. Each and every authority star gives a plus 3% hit and avoid to all of your units globally. You do not have to be in a certain range. However, that's only within the same affiliation. So like for instance, if Leaf had 5 authority stars and we had 2 armies to deal with, his 5 authority stars would only affect his affiliation. Underneath that, we see Vigor. And Leaf has one of those. That's a Vigor star. You can have up to 5 of those as well, and each one gives you a 5% chance to move again after every turn. So Leaf has a 5% chance. If you have 5 stars, that means you have a 25% chance, which is wild. Under that is Travel, that's who you're rescuing or who is rescuing you. Movement, of course, that's your movement statistic, that can increase. Fatigue we will see soon, and Condition we will see soon, and we will deal with them when they become relevant. After that, we see on the right weapon levels. And Leaf comes with a C rank in sword and 0 in the weapon experience points bar. So if we did not have the inventory hidden data, we would not see how much experience points he is at. Now, it doesn't matter for Leaf because he's at 0 anyway, but what's interesting is that C is the most important benchmark to reach with swords in this game, followed closely after by B. So Leaf is already at the most important benchmark in this game, especially for him, because both of the preferential weapons that Leaf gets his hands on in this game, there is one other than the light brand, he does not need a weapon level to use. He could have literally E rank and he could still use both of them, because that's just how preferential weapons work. They're usable by a unit, specifically that unit, and always that unit regardless of weapon level. So moving on from that, our final thing to talk about with Leaf is his skill. So we spoke about this a little bit ago with Aval, and that is Adept. It is an attack speed % chance to perform a consecutive attack. This is not relevant for Leaf in the early game, even with the Iron Sword, because he would only have a 4% chance to attack again. However, it is going to be relevant sooner than later, because Leaf will grow up into a much better unit, having much more speed, as well as hopefully a bit more constitution, weighing him down a little bit less, that light brand will. Moving on, however, we're going to be talking about our next unit, Finn. Finn is an awesome unit in this game. Busted bases, love them. He's not even promoted, a level 7 Lance Knight. And he comes with his very own preferential Brave Lance, which has 70 hit, 13 might, 10 crit, 1 range, 9 weight weapon. And it gives him plus 10 luck, which is going to be important for later. Pay attention to that. Though he only has a follow-up critical modifier of 1, that doesn't necessarily matter. As long as you have a number that's not 0, you can usually see criticals
every now and then it's worth it. He's not a crit machine. That's not how he's built. He is the Brave Lance wielder. In fact, the only character in this game who can wield the Brave Lance because it is preferential. That does hinder some other lance units in this game, but there are plenty of good lances that you can get, especially in the higher levels of weapon rank, that kind of just doesn't matter. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. Now, he has 60% HP, 35% strength, 5% magic, 30% skill, 35% speed, 45% luck. Then again, there's that luck again. 30% defense, 10% con, and 1% movement. Moving downward, we see that Finn is in Leif's army in the affiliation, and he has 1 authority star, so he is passively buffing our entire team with 3% hit and avoid. He has no Vigor Star and 8 movement. He will gain a bit of movement upon promotion. Now, one thing we do have to talk about with Finn is his weapon ranks here. As you can see, he has swords and lances. B rank in lances and a D rank in swords. That's not a D minus, that's just D as in it was put to the side. He cannot use swords while mounted on horseback. You can dismount in this game. He must use swords while dismounted and cannot use his lance while dismounted. That's why he has that D rank in swords. What's fantastic, however, is, as we said, the most important benchmark you want to reach with swords is C rank. So him being at D plus 30 is fantastic. There is 50 weapon level experience points towards each weapon level. So he's only 20 weapon level attacks with the sword away from being C rank, which is pretty great. Now, he has a miracle skill, which is, in this game, luck times 3% chance to avoid all fatal damage for the rest of combat. This is the second best iteration of miracle in the entire franchise, first being genealogy. This is Finn having a 45% chance right at this moment with the Brave Lance equipped to just say nope to death, which is pretty wild, and this can happen in every single fight he partakes in. If he has maximum luck, which is 20 in this game, plus his Brave Lance is 10, he will have a 90% chance to say nope to lethal damage, which is wildly strong and very fun. Now, as you can see, something right now with Finn is that he has a lot of hit, avoid, crit, and dodge. Dodge in this game is calculated by half of your luck. So he has 15 luck. Now, it's always rounded down whenever we do halves in this game. So half of 15 is 7.5, so it's rounded down to 7. He should only have 7 dodge. The reason why he has plus 10 to that is because he is currently receiving a support from Leif. Leif supports multiple units in this entire game. The support, however, is mostly one-sided. There are 3 types of supports in this game. There are 20% supports, 10% supports, and supports that are not mutual. So Leif gives 10% supports to most, I would say half the cast in this game, and it's not mutual. He gives them, but does not receive them. There are some very few supports in this game that do give 20%. So if they give 20%, that's 20% hit, avoid, crit, and dodge. 10% is all 4 of those stats normally. Leif and Finn and Avel both are affected by this, which is pretty cool. I personally like that quite a lot. Speaking of Avel, she's a level 12 pre-promoted sword master. And though she only has a follow-up critical modifier of 1, she does come with a magical sword that gives her plus 5 magic and cast fire magic at range. What's cool about that is because it gives her plus 5 magic while equipped, that means she has 9 magic with this weapon equipped. That's 9 magical attack and 9 magical resistance. Pretty awesome. Now, her growth rates are abysmal. 30% HP, 15% strength, 10% magic, 15% skill, 10% speed, which is laughable because she has capped speed, 25% luck, 5% defense, 5% con, and 1% movement. What's interesting about this is you're likely not going to see very much out of her levels, maybe an HP, maybe luck. You kind of hope, I personally hope, that she gets 1 strength and 1 magic over the course of her levels.
but it doesn't really matter either way. She actually is perfectly viable endgame, literally. Now, she is, of course, in Leif's army. She has 1 authority star, so she's also buffing all of your units by 3% hit and avoid. She has 2 vigor stars, so she has a 10% chance to move again. 8 movement, which is wildly strong. That's one of the great things about a Swordsmaster in this game. They actually have good movement. She comes with an A rank in swords, which is maximum you can have in this game, and Adept, and of course Miracle Plus. She's a good unit, fantastic. I think she's a wonderful early game pre-promoted unit that can be used all throughout the game when you have access to her, because you don't always have access to her. She is fantastic, and some people kind of look at her and just go, well, why would I want to use her? But you'll see soon as to why she's actually very necessary. Moving on, however, we have Ocean. Ocean is potentially top 5 best combat units in this game. And part of that reason is because of the preferential weapon he gets very shortly here. Now, he's a critical machine. He has a follow-up critical modifier of 3. So right now, in his current support, with his current supporting partner, which I believe Leif is supporting him as well, he would have a 51 critical on his follow-up attack. That's wild. Now, Ocean has pretty good growth rates. 85% HP, 30% strength, 5% magic, 25% skill, 35% speed, 55% luck, 25% defense and constitution, and 2% movement, with decent bases. I would appreciate more strength, but with criticals you don't really care, because how criticals work in this game is that your attack stat is doubled. You don't do triple damage, your attack stat is doubled, so when he crits he has 30 attack, which is very wild. It allows him to break through defense. He has no authority, no vigor stars, and only 6 movement, and very unfortunately, because he is a part of the fighter group that promotes to heroes, he gains no movement upon promotion, which I hate. And you're not likely to see him gain any movement from levels because he only has a 2% growth rate in that. Now, he comes with E rank and axes plus 40, so he's only 10 away from D rank, and you would think that that's not really all that great. But unlike swords, D rank is the benchmark you want to reach with axes. It's the most important. And he can reach it reliably soon. Now, he also comes with Wrath. If enemy attacks first, the user's counterattack will be a critical hit. Now, what's cool about this is that this means that his counterattack is a guaranteed critical hit as long as he hits. In this game, your hit rates are capped at 99 and floored at 1. That means there's always a chance to miss and there's always a chance to be hit. Doesn't mean it's going to happen that way, but there's a chance. This means that, yes, he can miss this critical. This is not a guaranteed hit. He must hit first. It must be calculated as a hit first before he can crit. This is not his second attack, however. Your second attack is always counted as a follow-up attack, which then takes in your follow-up critical modifier. And then finally, we have Halvin. Halvin is interesting because he has a follow-up critical modifier of 4, which is even better than Ocean. But I would not count him as a top 5 best combative units in this game. And the reason why is because he doesn't get himself that busted preferential weapon that Ocean gets. Halvin, however, is a very respectable unit with, in my opinion, better growths than even Ocean. 80% HP, 40% strength, 5% magic, 20% skill, 30% speed, luck, defense, and constitution with a 2% movement stat growth rate. He is even got better bases except for speed. However, Ocean, in my opinion, is just better all around due to what he gets compared to Halvin. Now, Halvin does get an amazing weapon, which does also help him quite a bit, and it functionally goes well with his play style. Now, he has no authority or vigor stars, and I do believe he also promotes to hero, which means he gets no movement. Now, he has D rank plus 10 in axes. What that means is that he has already that benchmark he needs to be at, which is fantastic.
It is not the only benchmark you can reach, because obviously there are other axes, like killer axes at C and silver axes at B and other things of that nature. So, but the most important axe in this game is obtained at D rank, and he's already there, which is great. Very good that Ocean is close to that as well. Now, Helvin also comes with his very own personal skill, Vantage. User attacks first when the enemy initiates combat, so Helvin gets to attack first in all fights in which he is capable of countering in. So this is awesome. He actually gets a weapon in this chapter that synergizes with this very well, in my opinion. But he does not have that right yet. When we see it, you're going to understand exactly why it synergizes well with him. All that being said, we're going to go ahead and get moving. So, in this game, I like playing, especially the first several chapters, very meticulously and with a thorough plan in mind. So I pretty much do this in every instance I play this game. It sounds kind of boring, but I like the strategy behind the way you deal with your characters in this game. Now, first and foremost, we have to kind of hope that Leaf... yeah, that stinks. I kind of hope that Leaf doesn't get hit there, because if he does, then what will happen is the bow unit and the javelin unit will gang up on Leaf. If all three of them hit him, he will die. It's just absolute. What you don't want on the first turn is that first lance unit hitting Leaf. If he hits Leaf, the javelin unit will not move down, and then it's just harder to capture him, and we're going to be seeing that soon. Exactly what is capturing. These are the only three units that are near us and that can move. For instance, one of the things that this patch shows you is the AI of units, that they will move. And you can even see global ranges by pressing L. So the L button lets you see the global ranges of all the enemies. Very interesting. With all that being said, I want to thank you for joining me. If you like my content, please upvote and follow, or like and subscribe depending on your platform. And while you're at it, have a great and glorious day gaming.